What should be my movement? Integrate?
Yeah, equal rights in a mixed society.
In this society, where you still own the government, you still own the train station, the railroad plant, the lecture plant, these television cameras, you still make all the food, you control everything, and I'm like a leech on a dog's back. All I can do is just wait for you. I can't do nothing for myself. Integrate in your society don't mean I'm doing nothing for myself. You doing it all. I want to do something for myself. I'm tired of depending on you. You might get broke one day. Your stores might close. Your gas pumps might cut off again. I'm relying on you now. Can I have my own land and country? I see dogs on television eating at the same plate with white people. I see dogs in the buses, and they do everything with the dogs. So I ain't getting nothing the dog ain't got. So really, ain't nothing in this integration. I need some land. I need some jobs. My people need jobs. We need something so we can build and do for ourselves, and we must have some land. Now, what
he said is very powerful. It's been 1968, the civil rights law was passed. And still 2023, we're still complaining about discrimination in the workplace. All the way to the top when you talk about from the NFL, major leagues, to you talking about the top officers down to the bottom. We're still talking about inequality. We're still talking about the fact that blacks have a higher unemployment rate than whites. This 2023. At some point, black people have to wake up and understand the only goal and the only way for us to be empowered is to become self-sufficient. White high school dropouts are wealthier than blacks or Latino college graduates. When it comes to building wealth, whites have a vast advantage over their black Hispanic peers. Right, Damon Deal's Federal Reserve's late survey on consumer financing and found a huge wealth gap by race ethnicity. In fact, whites are so advantaged that the median wealth among white families headed by someone with less than a high school diploma is $51,300, is larger than that for black families headed by someone with a college degree, $25,900, and Hispanic families with college degrees, $41,000. Be clear about this. A white high school dropout average income is $51,300 versus a black man or a black woman who has to go into debt is $25,900. This is the effects of not having ownership. This is why you black people working against yourselves when you fail to support black businesses. You're working to hinder your own progress. This is why they say you buy black like your life depended on it, because your life and your livelihood does depend on it.
Shanique Wright believes her name may have kept her from getting job offers. When the family therapist put out a resume using the nickname Charlie, she received more callbacks than when she used her first name.
It seems like it's a little bit difficult for people to either remember my name or pronounce it correctly or remember to pronounce it correctly. And so they would often ask for, well, what's your middle name? What's your, do you have a nickname? Which definitely makes me feel ashamed of my name at times.
In one study, job applicants with ethnic-sounding names were 50% less likely to receive a callback than those with white-sounding names.
The unfortunate fact is that a lot of professionals are starting to feel like that they have to whiten their resume or remove racial descriptors from their resumes.
Andrew McCaskill is a career expert with LinkedIn, which found 25% of black professionals feel they would face retaliation for speaking out about race and inclusion at work.
Black professionals overwhelmingly responded that things that were barriers to their advancement were not having access to mentorship and sponsorship, not feeling a sense of belonging in the workplace, and finally just feeling like that there was no path for them for advancement.
Zachary Nunn says he had to compete harder than white colleagues for the same promotion.
If you're not letting black and brown folks make actual decisions that can impact systemic change, you're not doing anything.
Research from 2019 found Black Americans only made up 3.2% of senior leadership roles at large companies, even though 81% of those surveyed said seeing Black professionals in leadership makes the workplace feel more inclusive. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Like I said, at what point are you tired of waiting on a white beneficiary? At what point do you realize that they're never going to allow you to feel inclusive? At what point do you not want to put yourself in a position of power and independence? We are at a point where this woman went and got a degree and has to alter her name in order to fill out resumes. It has nothing to do with her skill sets. They're looking at her race. They have to be sure that you don't identify with who you are, that you have no cultural markers, that you have erased all sense of identity of self in order for us to allow you into our space, is what white people are saying to Black people. So when I hear Black people say, cut your dreads off, all these things that are cultural that you saying are necessary for Black people to get a job, what you're saying is you need to wait and humble yourself to get a white beneficiary. You need to please white people at all costs. What you're saying is accept your lower class position and grovel at the feet of your oppressor. That is what you're saying when you tell Black people to lose their identity, to lose any cultural markers that they have. And at what point do you want to see Black people stand up righteously and be who they want to be who they desire to be? At what point? Because to get to that point, it takes a change in our mind state. It takes a change in our thinking. It takes the mind state to learn you want to build your own community. It takes the mind state to learn to circulate wealth back in the Black community, which so many Black people hate with a passion. It ain't just the white people who want to see the Black people with nothing. It's so many Black people that don't want to see you with nothing, that hate to support their own people. We're in a sad state. We're in a very sad state when we can't identify with each other and our suffering is collective.
Connecticut became one of a growing number of states to make race-based hair discrimination illegal. Yamiche Alcindor reports on how Black Americans often face discrimination because of the way they wear their hair, especially in school and at work.
For much of American history, naturally curly Black hair has been seen wrongly as unprofessional or even dirty, especially in the workplace. At Shell D's salon in Sterling, Virginia, salon manager Toby Mack has seen the impact of that discriminatory thinking firsthand. She says many clients openly worry about being judged if they wear their hair naturally curly.
A lot of times when we talk to our clients who are in the corporate setting, most of the conversations are along the lines of, I'm in a predominantly non-Black environment, so I can't go in looking like my hair is not being taken care of. Because there seems to be that assumption or that bias that if you have natural hair, you're not taking care.
See how much they make Black people hide their identity? You have to put in laws to try to legislate these people's hearts and minds. But you can't legislate a person's feelings. This is a fact. You can't legislate these people to accept Black people. What Black people have to do is build your own, support your own. You're not going to be accepted. What you're going to be is tolerated. Tolerated to the degree that you are compromising who you are in order to fit in. This is something I refuse to do. I refuse to do. This is why I do what I do as far as selling products and entrepreneurship, is because I refuse to do these things. I refuse to compromise who I am. This is why my page is named Unapologetically Black. But you all pick leaders who you follow, who beneficiary are people who are benefit off keeping you oppressed. Rather than roll with black people who are dependent on you for their progress. Black people, we really got to wake up and understand it's all about becoming self-sufficient. These Europeans will never do right by us. It's 2023. We're still facing discrimination based off a name, discrimination based off your hair. Then you facing discrimination based off your skin color. You're being criminalized. You're being over-policing your community. At what point do you have to realize that you are not a part of America? You are a separate group. And you are treated as a separate group. Stop thinking that you are part of America. At least the Mexicans know that if you go on the Mexican side of town, anywhere you go, they know to support their own businesses. They know to build their own. They know they have to work together as a community in order for them to survive.
Every day, we're either opening doors or cleaning. The only black people that I saw every day were either opening doors or cleaning floors.
Shannon Kelly Ray noticed it immediately at Amazon. Black professionals in high-level corporate roles were few and far between. She was one of the outliers. In 2019, Amazon hired her as a manager in diversity.
I felt that much more a sense of urgency that I want to do everything that I could or knew to do professionally to change the trajectory of access to opportunity on Amazon's campus and across Amazon's corporate infrastructure.
Amazon data shows that 26% of its employees are Black. It sounds good, but most of those employees are part of the company's warehouse workforce. Critics say Amazon's highest paid employees are white and male.
As a woman that happens to identify as Black or African American, I was never as consciously aware of feeling very detached or different in the space as I was at the Amazon's corporate campus.
Last year, Amazon committed millions of dollars to social justice organizations. On their webpage, they featured a Black Lives Matter banner. But Shannon says those words didn't align with company culture.
I had other leaders tell me that they had more money to buy T-shirts than I had for my program.
What does that tell you about the culture?
That tells you that they're not very serious.
Why would they be serious? Why would they be serious about building up people that they done fought hard to tear down? The ignorance of black people waiting on the change of white people is ridiculous to me. I really can't comprehend why you all still believe that there will be a change in white people. What you have to understand is that 66% of white people voted for Donald Trump. He had the highest, that was the highest election in history. Both presidents, Biden and Trump, are the first and the second most votes in any presidential election in history. White people turned out in mass numbers to support white supremacy. You have to understand that when King marched on Washington, you have to understand that King had a 76% disapproval rating with whites. White people have always been on the wrong side of history. White folks have always had a lower morality than other people. And I mean white people collectively. I'm going off the percentages, the higher number. that 66% of whites voted for Trump, regardless of the fact that he tried to take away democracy. In spite of all his racist things he said, because your humanity means nothing to 66% of whites, that was for sure. And they shown you this repeatedly. Why are you waiting on these white people to change?
I've always believed that Google is a great company.
Why?
Because they have, probably more than any other corporation in recent history, influenced change.
Where?
They understand the power of change.
Show me.
Well, Google, don't try to condemn these black and brown people from coming forward. You should embrace them and use this as an opportunity to help encourage some of the greatest change in the world. And that is to inspire the change that will respect, value, and protect people of color. Your second core value that you profess is that do no evil. Well, Google, racism is evil. And if you allow it to exist in your corporation, then you are condoning evil.
This is the problem with black people. We have too much faith in white people. I say faith because faith means to believe in something that's unseen. White people have not shown us any change. So why would you have faith that they have created any change? Why do you have faith that they would treat these black people with equality, with support, when that is not the history of black people dealing with white people, and there has been no example or no effort for white people to have made any significant change in that behavior. This is why black people are chasing their tails like a mad dog. It's because you have faith in people who have given you no reason to have faith in them.
The most successful diversity recruiters in Google's history. You're going to hear how she recruited from historically black colleges and universities some of the most intelligent, innovative people in the technology field. You're going to hear from her how she articulated that she would go tell these black students that when you come to Google, you're going to be nurtured, you're going to be valued, you're going to be protected. And you're going to hear from her how she believes Google made her to be a liar because they were not valued, they were not nurtured, they were not protected, they were not respected. And this is very real. They believe that Google, even though they profess these core values, they ignore the realities of society.
There's no reason to believe that white people have changed from 1860, from 1850. They have shown you they have not. Them overlooking the mass amount of unarmed black people murdered by the police, them not having any concern for that, have shown you that. Them having no sympathy and targeting and hating Black Lives Matter protesters because we was offended and outraged about them kneeling on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes, shows you that white people have not changed. For you to have faith that they would treat these people in such a good way is naive and ignorant. And for black people to wait on these people to change, and you see the last election, presidential election, they went in mass numbers and supported a bigot whose whole campaign was founded off of Obama birtherism.
Well, researchers say the rise of joblessness among black men has become a crisis, and its financial impacts are having a ripple effect. According to a new report from the Center for Economic and Policy Research, the toll of unemployed black men is costing the U.S. economy about $50 billion a year. Researchers say black men have consistently had the highest annual unemployment rate for the last 20 years. The report found the predominant reason is a lack of job offers. It is also impacted by higher mortality and incarceration rates. Researchers say with communities that with larger populations of working black men experience lower crime rates and better educational opportunities for children.
These Europeans understand that our community are in crisis because of economics, because they created these economic conditions to impoverish you in order to have cheap labor in America. We have to understand that no one has an incentive to uplift black people. We have to do it ourselves. That only happens if we learn to work together as a collective and understand the importance of being self-sufficient. Well, I keep having to drum this through people's head because the ignorance of black people is outrageous. I might speak on racism, but I really blame my own people for the reason why racism is so effective. It is our thinking, it is our behavior, it is our continued support and building of other people's systems and institutions that discriminate against us is what continues to place us at a disadvantage.